What is going on, everybody? Hopefully, you're having a great Tuesday. I believe it is, right? I think it's Tuesday. It's just been one of those weeks so far, right? We're only 2 days in. I feel like it's just all running off the rail, so to speak. But, anyways, enough about that. If you're here, if you're live, if you're watching us, if you're listening to us, this is the Money Talk. I am Billy Zerillo, your host, the Money Talk advisor. And this is a simple show where we just get away from all the industry jargon. We learn about financial concepts so that we can help you better answer your financial questions. And so I'm really, really super excited to have our special guest on today, who is a amazing person, has an amazing content, social media. That's how we got connected. I'm not going to take a lot of thunder from her. I'm going to let her introduce herself, but she is a mortgage lender here in central Pennsylvania. And it's just going to be a great conversation. We're going to learn a little bit about her, a little bit about the mortgage industry, a little bit of everything, so to speak. And so obviously, if that's something that you're looking for, she'll definitely let you know how to reach out to her the best. But with all that said, without further ado, I'm going to bring up my friend Susan Wood. What is going on? How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. I am doing great. I came straight from meeting with some realtors to discuss like current market, some marketing ideas for, the winter time, stuff like that. So it was really fun and just energizing, and I needed it. You just got to get out of your head and away from the computer sometimes. So
yes,
it was good.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good. I'm just so, like I said, I was telling everybody before we jumped on, how we met, just social media. Like I always say this, like game recognized game, right? Like I was like, man, she's
Right.
really killing it over there. I said, I need to get involved, and just learn more about you. And so I'm just super thankful you took some time out of your busy schedule to come on the Money Talk today. And so this is your first podcast, right?
Ever. Yep. There goes podcast virginity. Going. So now I'm a pro. Now I can do it.
Yes.
So yes, it was hard for us to link up at first. My schedule was insane. Obviously we're going to go a little bit into kind of like my background and how I got into lending. So when you first reached out to me, I had only been a loan officer, producing loan officer for like a month. And I was so thankful. I took off running. It seriously just blessing on blessing. And I had no time to meet with anyone, whatever. I was just doing business. And so I'm so grateful in this market to be saying that, because I was terrified to go from being a licensed assistant for a few years, to becoming a producing loan officer and not having the same, consistency, stability, whatever. It definitely taught me, though, that I should have just done it sooner. I was kind of squandering the personal touch that I can bring and that I found I could deliver through social media, despite, having these time restrictions and being very into my files and with my clients. That takes up a ton of time, but media is a way that we can get in front of a ton of people at once, answer questions quickly, deliver value easily and conveniently to people. So yeah, I saw you doing the same thing, and I really liked your Instagram layout. And I was like, that guy, I wanted to look like this guy's. And so I started sending now our mutual client, the guy who helps me with some of my media stuff. I sent him yours, and I'm like, I want it to look like this. And I sent him some other people. I'm like, or this, let's do a combo. But so yeah, I'm happy to be here too. I appreciate you reaching out. I was scared you were going to be not feeling like a real person when we connected the first time. And like, honestly, it was over an hour Zoom meeting. We could have gone on forever. So
yeah, 100%.
You said game recognized game. Big kudos to you, because it's one thing to be producing, be good at business, and be great at social media and stuff. But it's another thing to just be a really good person. And I think that needs to come first.
Yeah. And you made we'll get into the interview questions here, but you made such probably like the most impactful post I've seen in a really long time, talking about, just being real, authentic, be who you want, who you are, in front of people, behind closed doors. And that's like that. I know that's you, like that's you as a person, like you're who you are right now, talking, you're the same if offline, right?
Is it
Like that.
not exhausting to do anything other than that? Like, I
I always tell
personally,
people, yeah, I always tell people like I couldn't be anybody else because that would just be mentally exhausting.
right, right. I've tried it. I did it in dating relationships a lot when I was
Oh
younger.
yeah.
I thought it was this like superpower I had to make everybody like me, right? But then we would be 6 months in and I'm like myself and I realized like we have nothing in common. Why are we dating? Why did we, so kind of like it's funny that through my dating relationships and stuff, that's really where I kind of started to find myself in my career and find myself as a person was like, putting on these different faces. This isn't working for me. What's my face? Who am I?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Who am I? And yeah, and like you said, it's really come out in your marketing and your social media, and that's why people are going to gravitate towards you. So,
Thank you.
but with all that said, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in the mortgage lending. I know you started off as, working with a mortgage lender and
Right.
processing their paperwork, but I want to talk more about like why you decided to make the change from where you were to being a mortgage lender.
Right. So I was working for the same mortgage company for 2.5 years, 2 years. I had come into that from banking. And I always knew that I wanted to be more in front of the clients. I knew that I could do really well. I worked as an assistant on all of these files and I saw where things would go wrong, where the client communication just slipped up, where things were missed. And that's a really big impact to their experience. Um, I had people compliment me a lot as an assistant, just how I approached them in on behalf of my loan officer's business because I worked for plenty of different loan officers over the 2.5 year span. So pretty much when I started there, my boss immediately was like, she's an LO. She's a loan officer. We hired her as an assistant. We'll get her license. She's an LO. And then I went through the biggest quarter life crisis. I was, dealing with substance abuse and I was, I was running around. I was being irresponsible. I was just living for the moment. I was just being dumb. And it was a short span, but it was like literally at that same time. So I'm trying to like build a new career while also just being very just immature, just childish. And so I was like, no, I'm not being an LO. Like they're in front of people. They need to be, like you just said, who they are in front of people is who they are behind closed doors. And I knew that wasn't me at that time.
Yeah.
I was going through a lot. I was coming out of a bad engagement with some infidelity, and I just was like mentally and emotionally not capable of being an LO because it's all in. It's a lifestyle. And so I got pregnant with my daughter towards the end of that year, and I always wanted kids. So like I was terrified because of kind of the situation of life I was in, but she just, the minute I knew she was coming, like it just brought out the best in me. And I just did everything necessary to level up, to become who I was prior to like being, immature, making dumb decisions, but to be more than that. So that kind of continued me being an assistant for a while because I wanted that guaranteed, the hours, the, hourly pay, whatever. And then let's see, May came around of this year and they had, honestly, our mortgage company was like cutting LOAs like one by one. And it was due to budget cuts in the branch. And there were 2 of us remaining out of what was originally 6. And my boss came to me and he's just like, you want to be an LO? I'm like, can I say no?
Yeah.
Or do I just, and he's like, he was like really excited about it though. And he's like, I said it from the beginning. And I'm like, yeah, but I wanted to like have, a year's savings, have my 5-year plan. She was supposed to be in school. It would be easier to be out and about. He's like, okay, well, that's not happening. So do you want to do it? And I'm like, okay. So we jump into this. And honestly, I was terrified because I'm like, I wanted the stability I had just had. I didn't want to. It wasn't really my choice. At the same time, it was. I could have just said, no, I'm gonna look for other employment and just wrap up here. So really it was due to layoffs, and it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. I immediately tripled my salary that following month. I just met so many awesome people in this industry. I feel like there's, not everyone can be amazing, but I feel like I've met a lot of like good community and, other moms too, other single moms who are working moms and juggling these same things. So yeah, that's kind of how I ended up here. And honestly, I wasn't planning to keep doing it. And then I saw I was good at it, and my natural talents and abilities and the knowledge that I had gained, as being a very dedicated assistant, like, everything kind of fused together, and I was like, oh, now's the time. So it's another thing. It goes to show I'm a very strong believer in my faith, and every single time I thought something was the end of the world, it was the best thing that could have happened. Between broken engagements, my dropping out of college, my daughter, the layoff, like everything, when it came to like my rock bottom, it was just for me to elevate that much higher. And so yeah, when tough times come these days, I'm kind of like, oh, what good is coming? Because normally something real good comes out of it. So that's how I ended up here, and I'm gonna stick here. I love it. I, in good conscience, could not get out of this because I've seen the value I can bring, but I've also had people come to me as second, third lender, and they were denied by other people who just weren't really spending time in the files and doing due diligence on the clients and looking at every aspect possible for them. And like those people have since closed their loan. So I, in good conscience, can't get out of the game because I know that some people are going to come across me, and I may be the only one that spends the time to find the way to get them in the house. So, yeah.
Wow. That I mean, I knew a little bit about your story, and I just learned some other things about you. So, but what we do, us as careers, right? Those are all learnable skills, right? You can learn everything you need to know about mortgages. You can learn everything you need to know about financial advising. But what you can't teach is how you connect with other people, right? Like that's just a skill it's inside of you, like that the ability to see somebody where they're at and empathize with them and say, all right, like there is something we can do here. Let's figure that out, right? It might not be the most ideal situation, but we got to figure out all the options for this person, right?
Right.
And yeah, and I love that you do that for people. And it's really, it's just an extension of who you are as a person, right? You're not most people define themselves by what they do, right? I am a mortgage lender. I am a financial advisor. You're just a good person that happens to help people with their mortgages, right? And help.
I've said, like, if you decide, Billy, tomorrow that you're no longer a financial advisor, if I decide tomorrow that I'm leaving the mortgage industry and I want to do hair or something, like, at the end of the day, that means I'm no longer a lender. You're no longer an advisor, but we're still Billy and Susan. So I want people to know me for who I am and then what I can do for them, not what I want to do for them to make a paycheck and then, oh, I'm also Susan, One of the things, like you said, you can't teach is like just caring. And that's what I tell my clients. And just like, I one thing I can promise you is like, I can't promise you that we can get you to buy a home right now. Like, I got to see what's going on. And we got to get really into this and into the nitty gritty. But what I can promise you is if there's any way, we're going to be the team to find a way. So whether that even has to be, we connect them with another lender, another investor who has the product that's going to solve their issue. At the end of the day, I told clients, my goal is for you to get in home. So if I make a paycheck in the process, awesome. But like I meet you and we kind of fuse this friendship because it's a very transparent and vulnerable transaction. I can't go to sleep at night knowing I didn't do everything I possibly could for you to get you where you were. It's not like buying a new couch, a new sweatshirt or something. It's literally establishing a home for you and your children so you no longer have to move around. Or you and your dog, you and your spouse, or you, whatever it may be, you know? So yeah, you can't teach caring. And sometimes I definitely wish I cared less, especially in this industry, because we all get our slaps in the face, and competition gets ugly and dirty sometimes, and it can feel like crap. So, but at the end of the day, good is as good does, and if you put good out, you'll get some good back.
So I said, like, just live by the golden rule, right? Treat everybody as you would want to be treated, and I've been living my life that way, and sometimes you have some situations, but for the most part, everybody's happy. So,
Right.
So let's talk about this because I want people to get to know you just a little bit better. So outside of mortgages, right? Like outside of those types of things, obviously you have your child, right? But what hobbies, things are you interested in, passionate about that you'd like to share with the listeners?
So it's so funny. Everybody, I swear, whether it's realtors, clients, just friends, whatever, people always mention, oh, well, you work out all the time. I see it on your stories. Or wait, oh, you're gonna eat that? I thought you were like all into health and fitness. So I am into my health. I am into my fitness. I used to do personal training, and then I had my beach body phase. I should have learned then that sales was a good route for me, but I was like, no, sales is scary. And yeah, so I've always been into my health and my fitness, just because when I feel good, I am generally like, I'm better at making memories. I want to get out and to do things. I don't want to stay at home and, watch Netflix all day on the couch. Only when I'm sick do I want to do that. And I can't do that now anyway, because Kasha doesn't want to do that. So, but yeah, so health and fitness has always been really important to me. It's been a real struggle since having a child, not because it's like, oh, my body is different, blah, blah. It is, but honestly, in a lot of ways, stronger. It's hard because things aren't all about me anymore. So, like, I don't get to go to the gym 4 times a week, hour and a half session, and then go tan after, and it's this whole ordeal. I don't get that anymore. And one day I will have that, and I'll wish that, she was little again. So I'm just trying to embrace this phase where, a 20-minute lift in the morning might be all I get, but that's better than nothing. So health and fitness has always been very important to me. Health is wealth, So outside of that, my faith is important to me. I am kind of moved back here a few years ago. I had moved to Ohio and then Illinois and came back. And I feel like I'm still kind of trying to find like a home base for a church, but I also am very strong believer that you don't need to be, in a church to be worshiping or to be praising, or
100%.
But just having a belief in something higher than yourself, it really, whatever that may be, it just lightens the load. Like, life has gotten ugly and hard plenty of times, and it will again. It does. It's a cycle. And something to hold on to, instead of it feeling like, if you fail, dam's broken, it's a flood. So that it's always been very important to me, and it's gotten me through the hardest times. I have always just enjoyed the outdoors. I grew up hunting a lot. I would hunt archery with my brother. Yesterday was actually his birthday. So I would go out hunting archery with my brother all the time. And I specifically remember, like, we would probably shouldn't have, we'd play with guns in the backyard. And I grew up working at a butcher shop and the farm stand and all that stuff. So that was very just like in my blood and in my familial line and stuff. So, yeah, that's another thing that's been difficult here, is like, I can't answer phone calls in a tree stand, and finding the time with a child. I'm like, okay, so this is going to be another thing that is less for now, but, we have a trip next month to go up to West Virginia for the weekend. And go hunt, and her grandparents are watching her at the cabin while we're there. So I'm really excited for that, just to get out, just to have that quiet. Whether you're hiking, you're taking a walk around your neighborhood, I used to fish a lot growing up, whatever it may be. You like to bike. I just think it's really important to just get out and get connected with nature, because as 21st century adults, you just have nothing. You have nothing but like products, consumption, screens in your face all the time. And it can be really like anxiety inducing, honestly, and very stressful for no good reason. So just unplugging and getting out is it's necessary and it's important. It's harder these days, and I have to make time for it in space, but you make time for the things you care about.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I have a lot of the same passions that you do. I'm not a huge hunter. I'm more of a fisherman myself, but
I just suck at fishing. I'm just terrible at it. That's why I don't.
So I think fishing for me doesn't require a lot of thinking, and that's usually my because I'm thinking all day, thinking about other people's situations and stuff like that. And so like any moment I get to turn the old brain off for a second.
Right.
Like for me, working out is that 1 hour a day that I get to work out, right, is like the moment where I just kind of turn the music really loud on my headphones and just, I always tell people my hobby is I like to pick up really heavy things and put them down again, then pick them up and then put them back down.
It makes everything else in life feel a lot lighter. So,
yes. Yeah. Yes. So
yeah, that was my solace. And so I work out at home before she wakes up in the morning now, and sometimes the monitor goes off as soon as I get down there. So I seek the day when I can just put the headphones on and not listen to anything else. But I definitely relate to where you're coming from, and that day will come back. So
it will. It definitely
flies.
will.
It's scary how fast it flies. So it'll be back.
So just a couple of questions here, more so dedicated to kind of what you do and stuff like that. So what's like the typical client you work with? I know, we can help everybody with what we do, but usually there's like a specific type of person. Right. Who is like the client that you typically work with?
I have had such a wide array of clients in the last few months. But primarily I'd say first-time home buyers, families, engaged couples, newlyweds, families looking to upsize because their family's growing. So that's fun. Families, first-time buyers. I have worked with people who are retiring, relocating for retirement. I have, worked with a third purchase for, someone my parents' age, but primarily it's millennials and Gen Z, working professionals trying to build a family or, build a bigger one. So it's cool because we can normally relate on stuff. They're very understanding of, my daughter in the background singing the Elmo theme song while we're trying to have like a business call, which she can't talk yet. So the Elmo theme song is just a lot of la, la, la. But yeah, she's getting there. But yeah, so I mean, it's very rewarding. It's cool. A lot of them, by the time we close, they're like, oh, let's get our kids together for a play date, whether they're, close to our age or not, just because like I said, we fuse that relationship. So
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I think the cool thing about working with, this is just kind of been the people who gravitated to me, maybe because of social media and stuff. Working with families, couples, people kind of building that like domestic lifestyle, working with them. The cool part has been, or, just single people looking to establish roots. They're normally people that think that they have no purchase power, or they think that because they may feel like they are tight on money, like budget wise, groceries, utilities, gas, whatever that stuff may be. They typically come in thinking like they can't afford, even though those things aren't reporting to your credit report or anything. We still have to work through, what's your max pre-approval, but what do you actually qualify for? Or sorry, what do you qualify for, but what are you comfortable with?
Yeah.
But most of them, it's wild. Like they're like, I don't even know if I qualify. And I'm like, you've got so much room. And like, it's way out of typically the purchase range they're even looking in. An awesome thing right now is also a lot of them are finding what they want in a home at a reasonable purchase price because it's not prime buying season. So sellers are just being more reasonable. You don't have to default to offering 15K over asking with an appraisal gap. So, yeah, I guess breaking the belief for these people that they can't buy or they can't buy more versus what their current home is just, it's a rewarding experience because if I didn't feel approachable to them, I don't know that they would have looked into it anytime
Yeah.
soon.
That's awesome. I love that. I mean, just kind of like, because social media can be just it can be a double-edged sword, right? The information that we get on social media can be definitely be great, but the information that we get on social media can be cut the other way too, right?
Right.
And so many people just don't, that's why I made this podcast, the money talk, right? The talk we should have had when we were kids, because we don't know these things. And if you don't know these things, you build up fear, you build up, all these different emotions towards whatever your goal is, right? If your goal is to buy a house, right? But you're like, oh, well, I don't make enough money, or I don't have this, or I don't have this, or
the
I
people
don't.
that say, oh, well, I have bad credit.
Yeah. Yep.
No, you
Like
don't have your credit just isn't 700. You don't have bad credit by any means. Like when I see some of these people, some of them, it's like, they might be like, I don't think I can ever qualify. And they're like this close. They need like 2 more months on the job. We need to work on paying off like 1 or 2 collections and maybe 1 card down. And people don't know like what assistance is available to them too, like down payment assistance and stuff. So that's another big thing. I think, as we say this all the time, applied knowledge is power. And people don't realize that like if you're thinking about buying in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, start the process. We can do soft credit pulls, so you don't have to. Credit pulls, credit inquiries are a very, very minuscule hit. I opened a card, had an inquiry recently. That's with a new liability, right? That's 1 point. It was 1 point. So, like I tell people, it's not this big, as you said, on the media, you hear all this stuff. It's not this big hit people make it seem like it is, like inquiries dropping on your score. But we can do soft pulls now too. So, you can really go in, check, and get applied knowledge and figure out if you think you can't qualify now, how are you ever going to know how are you ever going to qualify if you don't take the steps, if you don't have a path or a plan? So yeah, I just tell everyone, I'm like, the only thing you're going to lose is time, which is extremely valuable, but you're either going to lose time right now or you're going to lose time in the future. And also the backtrack that 100%. You've been running that whole time.
100%. 100%.
If you're thinking about buying, if it's on your brain, talk to a mortgage lender. Talk to a good mortgage lender. Talk to a local mortgage lender.
I was gonna say you probably need to clarify that. Talk to a good mortgage lender.
Yeah, don't Google mortgage lender and then go to the sponsored ad. So.
Yeah. Don't ever click on the first couple ads because they're just paid for ads. Doesn't mean that they're the best.
Work with recommendations. Talk to your circle. Add Susan Wood on Facebook, and just do that.
I love that little plug. Last question. And then for you, and it's kind of a great segue for what you were just talking about. Let's say Billy is, and I hate talking to myself as the third person, but let's say Billy is looking to buy a home or start the process. What are some essential steps that I should take to prepare myself to either talking to a mortgage lender or the mortgage lending application process?
So firstly, this is a tough one because I feel like there's just there's so many variables, but we are going to need some type of documented income. So first step is going to be, which is kind of long-term, make sure you're on the books somewhere. That's one thing I've unfortunately seen is people are like, oh, like, I make this, but my spouse makes this much. And then when we go to really dig through that, they've been off the books for years. So we can't count that income if it's not documented anywhere. So make sure that, you have documentable income some way, whether that's self-employed, you work contractor agency, your W-2, whatever that is. Just, we're going to ask you for docs. So just be prepared for that part. We're not going to be able to use under the table income. So I've seen that a lot recently. Apart from that, I would just say, just there's not a lot of preparation you can do besides just get in the conversation. Like I said, speak to a lender, figure out, be honest. What is in your bank account? What's in your retirement? If you give us an inflated number, we're still going to have to document it, even though, we'd love to skip docs. Everyone hates the documentation portion, but we need it for your loan to close. So we're going to ultimately find out where all the assets are.
Where all the skeletons are.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the other part. It's a very transparent transaction. So give us your real balances. Even if you think, oh, that's too low. Well, it might just be telling us what down payment assistance programs we need to look into for you. It just helps us better diagnose what's going on. So, just make sure you have some documentable income. If you don't, we need to get it. Again, you can work through with a lender, maybe you, just depending on your loan program, you might have different, time requirements based on how long you need to be on that job, but we're going to need to have something to prove that you make that stable amount. So get on the books, whoever's books they are, and get talking with a lender. Because honestly, you might think, oh, my credit is this. If you're checking Credit Karma, if you're checking Discover, whatever credit apps you might have on here, they're going to be different than what a mortgage is going to pull. There's different FICO scores, and they use different ones than we do. So,
yep.
So people are always surprised by that. They can be higher and lower, so just keep that in mind. Like, just because you say, well, Credit Karma is already low, it might actually be higher when we pull it. It's just really, again, it's like, if you get injured, it's a lot easier to diagnose and solve the issue when you can see it head on and figure out, okay, how do we need to tackle this? How do we need to rehab this and put it back together? So when it comes to credit, funds, income, be honest, be transparent, and we can diagnose what needs fixed and work through it. Maybe it's great and you didn't know, or maybe you're very confident and it just matches up with how great it is. Awesome. That one's rare. So, just get in conversation. I tell people all the time after we get off the phone, I'm like, I will call you before I'm going to tell you, oh, go submit an app. No, we need to have some background and you need to know who I am and if you feel comfortable. Obviously start saving, but that's a hard thing when you don't know what savings goal you're working towards. So again, that comes back to, I'd rather have the conversation with you first to figure out, what goals we might be looking at. But I tell everyone at the end of a conversation, I'm like, you have my number now, save my number. So if you have any questions, if you possibly think about making any big money moves, making a job change, taking on a new car, something happens to yours and you're going to go, like, I don't care if we're under contract or not. I don't care if you haven't submitted an app yet. Save my number. Ask me how that will affect things for you, and we'll talk through it. We're friends now, okay? So just keep my number in here. Text me, call me, whatever. So I just want people to know that, like, the conversation is the biggest piece. And I think if I had looked at lending that way before I was in it, I would have gotten into it sooner. And I would have just had a smoother process. So people they get scared and like, you shouldn't be.
Well, life's about timing, right? And so this was the perfect time for you to get in, and it's look at this. A great segue, and it's a perfect time to talk to your mortgage lender if you're looking to get into real estate, buy real estate, downsize, stuff like that. So that's the overarching theme I took on that on that answer was just have the conversation, right?
Yep.
Get on the phone,
Yep.
get in front of you, have the conversation, be honest, be open, because the more honest, it's like a police officer, right? Like the more honest and open you are, right, you're gonna hopefully do yourself some favors. If you lie about a bunch of stuff, that's not gonna really help you down
Right.
the
It
road.
always comes out. And like some
Yeah.
people, they're just not quite sure. But saying, well, I mean, by then I could save that much. That doesn't help. I want to see if we can help you with like down payment assistance now. So
Yeah. Yeah. So
yes. And I mean, when it comes to clients that need work too, it's awesome to have financial advisors on your side who can kind of look at a full picture and help me help them get them on their way to homeownership as well as general financial health. Because I, as much as anyone thinking about talking to a mortgage lender, I was equally as scared to talk to a financial advisor. To think like, oh, you only invest my loads of money that I haven't put aside. Like,
yes.
so as I've
So,
been in this industry and found the people that look at an encompassing photo and really are just going to take you from the beginning and work with your financial health, like I try and do every time we get an application that does or does not qualify. We're going to still work through that together. So yeah, that's the plug for Billy is if you're scared to talk to a financial advisor because you think you're going to get pitched products for money you don't have, why would you invest money when you're, in debt? These things that run through your head, as a possible client, is have the conversation. Just go have the conversation. He's just going to help you get on a better track and take a diagnostic approach. I think that's the word. Yeah,
that's a good word. I like it. It fit well in the conversation. But no, I really appreciate today. I know we could probably go on for the next hour or so talking about all life, mortgages, the whole 9 yard, financial
right.
health. And maybe we might have to. Maybe there'll be another show coming up here soon where we can talk about some more stuff. But no, I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to come chat with me on the Money Talk. Before we jump off, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, where they can find you, where they can find your wonderful social media, all your content. Let the people know.
So I am PA Mortgage Girl on TikTok. Jeez, it's been a day already. PA Mortgage Girl on TikTok, PA Mortgage Girl on Instagram. I am Susan Wood on Facebook. Susan Wood PA Mortgage Girl on my business Facebook, but just add me because I like being friends. So yeah, and you can always call me 717-781-7708. My phone is always near me. Yeah, so PA Mortgage Girl. I'm happy to help. I just try and share info and break the belief that homeownership has to be hard.
Love it. I love it. Well, for everybody that's watching, listening, make sure you reach out to her for all your mortgage needs. That's where you can find her. Yeah, just reach out to her. Conversation doesn't cost anything. Just have the conversation, see where you're at, because you can only fix the problem when you bring awareness to the problem. That's really important.
Right.
So,
exactly. It's like I tell people, it's like stepping on the scale. Like,
yeah, got to do it if you want.
It, but things are only going to get worse until you look at it, you take it head on, and you get a plan to get in shape, whether that's financially or physically. So.
Yep. Well, anyways, everybody, hopefully you enjoyed today's show. Like I said, I enjoyed everybody that jumped on, commented, and liked the stream. So, but we will be live next week for another episode. So, but hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.